Hey, you want to see something really scary?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
What was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Welcome to Fright Night.
Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Shad.
We will be discussing multiple films this time around. Scurry, Chain Reaction, Infirmary, and Relentless.
Yes, so let's start off with Scurry. Now this one, we've been meaning to talk about it for a while, but one reason or another we weren't able to. This is an Australian film from director Luke Sparks, and it stars Jamie Costa and another actress named I'm going to say Amelia? Yeah, I think that's right. And it's a pretty interesting concept. The whole movie is supposed to be done in one take. And there's a few parts where they kind of like move away from the actress for a little bit, I think, while they're moving everything around and some things like that. It's interesting that they pull it off, how they do it. Those things have to be hard because if you mess up, you have to start the whole thing over.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. It's a creature feature, so that's a little refreshing. You don't get a lot of creature films throughout the year.
Yeah, the movie starts off with the characters are both underground. They're in LA, and I believe it's LA, and they've fallen through a hole in the ground separately.
Yes, he falls. You see his descent down to the ground, which is pretty cool, actually. Yeah. She's already down there, and she meets him like
a little bit later. But yeah, the creatures are opening up these tunnels all around the city and causing the ground, basically sinkholes to pop up. So then they're trapped down in there, and they're trying to get out of the thing and avoid the creatures.
Well, they don't know what's happening. Well, he doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, at first. Eventually. I'm just telling you how it's going to play out eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he pretty quickly discovers with her that there's underground monsters here. And these are some pretty creepy monsters. They do a good effect on those. I'm assuming this is some mix of practical and digital, but I don't know for sure. Because it looked pretty good, so it didn't have a weird CGI quality to it. So there must be a mix of things with it, I would think, because it looked pretty good.
It did look pretty good. They were really creepy. Should we say what it is or leave it?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a spider.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird spider creature under there.
I'm going to tell you that anything that's a bug that's oversized, I'm not about. So yeah. I may or may not have been screeching the whole time I was watching the film. Seeing the actors crawl and in the tight spaces. I mean, if you're someone that is not about tight spaces, then
if you're a little bit claustrophobic,
for you.
Yeah, stay away.
But overall, it was pretty decent.
Yeah. There's a great scene where, as they're kind of like crawling through the tunnels, you see right above them, there's one of the creatures in another tunnel that's kind of digging down towards them.
Yes.
You see like a cutaway of it, and it's like just a thin layer of dirt between them and it, you know?
It's like if you've ever looked at an ant farm.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, it's like Ant Farm, the movie.
Yes.
Because you're seeing them move through the tunnels, and the creatures are right around them, and that. It was genuinely creepy, and I think it pulled itself together pretty well. It reminded me a little of Tremors and like the way the creatures move through the ground and everything. But it's a really good creature feature, and like you said, we don't get enough of those.
We don't. That segment where they're showing the creature and them crawl, that was like the coolest imagery that I've probably ever seen. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it was very awesome.
That was like genius. The movie for me ran a little bit too long. It's obviously, it's two actors. They're in a tight space, they're in not the same room, obviously, but
they're in the same area. There's a few other people that show up here and there, but for the most part, it's just the main two actors. And that does get a little slow from time to time. And it, again, this is one of those ones that it's 90 minutes. It probably could have had like 10, 15 minutes cut out of it, and it would have been a little bit better paced.
Yeah, just a little better paced. But there's only so much you can do. But overall, It was
good.
It was a decent film.
Yeah, I'd recommend it to people. It's out on Apple TV, Fandango, and all that kind of stuff now.
Now, our next film is Chain Reaction.
Chain Reactions.
Chain Reactions.
There you go.
And it is a documentary about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
And this is not necessarily about how they made it, because they've already done a lot of those. This is about people's reactions. Get it? Chain reactions?
Yes. And how it impacted them in their lives. And you have Patton Oswalt. You have Stephen King.
You have Takashi Miike, Karen Kusama, and then Alexandra Heller-Nichols, who's a film historian.
And it is very interesting to see how each individual, more so Patton Oswalt and Stephen King, what they thought was happening in the film.
Yeah.
They have completely, there's something similar, but then completely different thoughts on what was going on. One thought it was the end of the world, and that this, I think it was Stephen King, and this was not the only
No, it was
thing.
Patton Oswalt.
Oh, that was Patton Oswalt.
Yeah,
and this was not the only thing that was happening. This was happening in Texas, but everywhere else there were other crazy things happening.
Because the way they keep showing the sun and the washed out colors.
Yes,
Patton Oswalt was convinced it's a apocalyptic. The apocalypse is happening while you're watching this movie.
Yes, which I thought was it's a very interesting take on it. And then Stephen King was being Stephen King. No.
Well, I was kind of surprised when Stephen King talked, because one of the things he revealed was that he didn't actually watch this until like the mid-'80s. So I thought he would have been kind of all over this right when it first came out, but I guess he just didn't get around to it.
Well, I think he was pretty busy, doing a lot of drugs and drug writing.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, he was a little busy.
But I think my favorite one from it is the Japanese director Takashi Miike, who talked about he was going to see, I think, The Wizard of Oz, and he missed that show, so he just went to see Texas Chain Saw Massacre instead, and how that influenced all of his filmmaking from then on. And talk about how much different his life would have been if he had just made that showing of The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, he would have not probably become a filmmaker.
He would have not been doing films like Audition and that,
Yeah, and how there are segments in his films that are very reminiscent, in a sense, to the scenery and images from Chain Saw Massacre.
And then it's got to be interesting for him, as he's in Japan and he's seeing this version of America. And and I'm sure, in his head, he knows this is not what America's like everywhere. But it's like when you see only the versions of a movie from, Japan or Australia or wherever, you see that, and kind of subconsciously you think, that's what that whole country's like. So I'm sure he thought, this whole country is just full of crazy people that do. The people in the van are doing stupid things. The people in the house are doing unspeakable things. Everybody's a terrible redneck out here in Texas, and it just had to be interesting for him as someone that doesn't live here and is watching this subtitled, to see this. It had to be a crazy experience for him. And the other people, they have some interesting takes too. The film historian, she puts a lot of interesting twists on it, on how the film impacted people and how it's affected other things. But really, the standouts for me were Stephen King, Patton Oswalt, and Takashi Miike, because they just all had such a completely different point of view on what the movie was like. And like I said, I can't imagine Takashi Miike just sitting there when he's young, 16, 17, just watching this for the first time, and this being probably at that point one of the most graphic horror movies he's been ever seen, and then this crazy version of America. It had to be just insane.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what he thought when he was watching.
It would be like if the first movie you ever saw that had from Japan was Audition. Yeah. And you thought or the first movie you saw from Australia is Mad Max. You're like, wait, what? The only Australian movie you've ever seen is one with Lord Humongous in it. That would give you a very different picture of what that country's like.
But for anyone that loves Texas Chain Saw Massacre, which celebrated its anniversary.
Actually, a couple years ago, it was in 2024. It was its 50th anniversary.
2024 50. Yeah, for me, it was like yesterday.
Yeah.
The time has just gone by so fast.
Yeah, but they're still doing Texas Chain Saw Massacre Day now in all the theaters on like August 3rd. And now they picked that up, and now every year they're showing Texas Chain Saw Massacre, which is kind of a fun thing, you know, to keep it in the theaters, because there's always going to be a new group of people that have never experienced it in the theaters.
Of course, and that's definitely something you need to see in the theater. And it, you know, what's kind of crazy, like the historian, she does discuss like how, like, I can't even imagine someone watching it at that time is like, when I first saw it, I was like, holy jazz, like what the, and I was a teenager, I was like, whoa, that, it really fucked me up. Like, I was terrified. That opening with the noise of the camera and the imagery is just right there. I could have just shut it off and been like, I'm good. But being in the world that we live in today, and all how horror films have transcended, and they've shown so much, how someone that's in their 20s today sees that's like nothing to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can imagine, if this is obviously someone that's watched a lot of, you know, horror movies, you know, in their life. Someone that's never watched a horror movie ever, you know, this is their first movie. Yeah, I'm sure that it's going to have a freaking impact on them, because it's just like, geez, what the hell is this?
But, you know, they talk about, there's no...
And it feels so real.
Yeah, but you never really see any blood in it.
No, but it's you don't see any blood in Halloween, but people are like, this is the bloodiest movie ever.
And
so
they
many
Psycho,
people died.
they swear they've seen the knife go in, but you never do.
Yeah.
And it's like, I pointed out to someone, they were talking about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a misnomer, because it's a great name, but most of the people in the movie get killed by a hammer or being put on a hook. Only like one person dies by the chainsaw.
Yeah.
So it's a massacre, but it really wasn't with the chainsaw. It should have been more like the Texas Hammer Massacre, because he killed two of them with the hammer and one of them on the hook and then one of them with the chainsaw. So yeah, it's one of those things, and I love that Patton Oswalt, you know, talks about it, says that's the greatest movie title of all time, because it tells you everything you need to know about the movie.
That's true.
Where it's happening, what's going to happen, and what it's going to happen with. It's going to be in Texas, they're going to use a chainsaw, and there's going to be a massacre. It's like everything you need to know right there.
I also love how geeky he got, because of course Patton Oswalt, he owns the clamshell version, which is worth a lot of money, because it didn't make a lot of those for that film. And it's just so fascinating. Like, he loves the movie. Like, this is his favorite movie. Like, it's up there. But yeah, it was pretty cool. But overall, we didn't give knives for Scurry. But I guess we can hold it off to the end. I'm just gonna. Can I just give my knife?
Go ahead.
I give it 3 knives for Chain Reactions.
Yeah, it's a fun watch, because you already know all the crazy stuff that went on when they were making the movie, but it's great to see these people's, you know, take on it, because everybody has a different time in their life that they saw that movie, or Psycho, or Halloween, or one of the like seminal horror movies like that. And like you said, now it probably wouldn't seem as horrifying to people, but I remember like my uncle talked about going to the drive-in and seeing a double feature of this and The Hills Have Eyes.
Wow.
And how it was just like the most horrifying movies he'd ever seen, and he was freaked out by it. And he'd been in Vietnam.
Damn.
He was freaked out by these movies, and like, these are the craziest shit I've ever seen on screen and all this. So, you know, but now would it be that bad? Probably not, because there's been way worse things done in movies.
I have to say that, just to throw this out there, we had the pleasure of interviewing some of the members from the Texas Chain Saw Massacre a couple of years ago, and they were delightful, and they had amazing stories, such fun stories. And we also have both separately met Gunnar Hansen. Actually, I was helping him for a book signing at a convention. I think he had passed away shortly, a little bit after that. Not like the next year, but
yeah, it wasn't too long. It was maybe 2 years after that, I think.
So, and he was super nice, and it, you know, it's so crazy because, when you go to these conventions and you are either in line or you maybe are helping one of the celebrities, you hear the people's stories or you see what they come up with. So there is this little baby there was a boy, and the parents had named him Gunnar after Gunnar Hansen, and they were like, do you remember meeting us? That was literally, they had taken the baby to meet Gunnar Hansen when it was a baby. And then later on, when it was like, this kid, and he was like, oh yeah, whatever. And he was showing pictures, and it's just so wild to me how someone who was a maniac. Yeah. It wasn't like he was someone that survived in the movie. He was the killer. Could, have these people be like, we're going to name our whole son after you. Yeah. It's great. I mean, I guess it's good they didn't name him Leatherface.
Yeah, that's probably the best on the choice on that one. But yeah, I met him at the Spooky Empire. It was probably in 2010, I think, and it was at the VIP party. And it was strange at those VIP parties because sometimes people that you'd think everyone would be talking to, no one was talking to. In 2010, when I went, no one was talking to Joe Bob Briggs, and no one was talking to Gunnar Hansen or to John Saxon. And myself and the friend I was there with, we were all about talking to all of them.
Yeah, of course.
And if I can corner Gunnar Hansen and just talk to him, just have conversations, it was great. And then he's one of those guys that, I talked to him that night, and then the next day I saw him. I was going over to get the autograph at his table the next day. When I saw him, like, he remembered me, remembered my name, was like, hey, how you doing, Chad? Just talking to me, and it was, cool because you think, okay, he actually listened and, cared. He wasn't just there to just scribble a name and go. Yeah. But yeah, it was really cool to get to talk to him because he's such a nice guy and so sweet, and like, he's into poetry and everything that Leatherface is, he was the exact opposite of. He just did the part because he was a big dude. Yeah. So this is on Shudder now. Chain Reactions is available on Shudder, and you should definitely check it out.
Now, Infirmary.
Yes. This one just premiered on Friday. It premiered at the Dances with Films in New York. And it is directed by Nicholas, I'm going to say Pinata, and written by Kathy, I'm going to say Crowland. I hope that's how I'm saying everybody's name right. And it is a found footage film that takes place in a abandoned hospital. Yeah. I'm going to guess it's abandoned because we never saw any patients.
It is abandoned, but they use it for some kind of training. The hospital, I guess, is being used or was used. It's kind of
ambiguous what's going on there.
A little ambiguous.
And you're following the guy who comes in, and it's his training day that he's there. And
security guard.
And of course, like any job you take as a security guard at a horror movie, it's never going to go well for you.
No, the mentor is a complete asshole and he hazes him. I was telling Shad when I was watching the movie, I said, this kind of reminds me of Backrooms, only because not anything that actually happened, like the plot of the film, just you're a security guard, so you're looking at the different cameras, and the cameras are going from room to room, and you're like looking at abandoned, room after abandoned room, abandoned cafeteria, it's just so creepy. A long hallway, a hospital room or whatever, not a hospital room, but the morgue, surgery room,
the surgery rooms, the MRI areas, all that kind of stuff are just sitting there empty. And those rooms are creepy when people are in it, much less when they're just abandoned sitting there.
No, I did not. Now, I will say the movie ran a little long for me. I thought the pacing was a little off. There was a lot of character development, and that's why it ran long, because they really wanted you to really get behind this young guy who, you know, served in Afghanistan. He's a veteran. You know, he's come home. He's
trying to get a job.
He has trouble sleeping, so, you know, he has like
thought
PTSD.
the overnight job would be great for him.
Exactly. He's taking care of his mom, who's living with him, and there's a lot of character development there. And then there's character development for the other security guard, the senior security guard who's training him. There's some development there, but there's a lot of dialogue. And there's a lot of just walking around. What I thought was cool was that the security guard put like a body cam on the guy so that he can just walk around just holding the flashlight and have his hands, you know, free, in case, you know, shit went down. And so you're seeing it from that point of view, which kind of like ups the creep factor. And then you're also seeing it from just like watching the screens when they're in the room doing the surveillance cameras. So you're kind of getting it. And then there's the admin woman. We're going to call her admin woman.
Yeah, the HR.
The HR lady. Now, there are plot holes. And the plot holes, it's like you want to know what the heck is really going on, because they just premiered, so I really don't want to give anything away. Yeah. But
there's some questions about what some of these people are doing and how they're doing it and who...
Exactly, yes.
Who may be real and who may not. You know, there's some interesting questions there.
I mean, mind you, there's not a lot of people in the movie, but yes, there's a lot of questions. There, I want to say that it's a slow burn. And it's one of those films where you're going to have like the last like 20 minutes, it's going to be crazy. And when I'm talking about like, it was unsettling. I did not care for, I mean, Chad can attest, I may or may not have been screaming.
There's some of this imagery in it. It's one of those things that when you see that coming, like when you're seeing what's happening here, you're like, oh, hell no. I would have made like a Wile E. Coyote hole in the wall and run through there. I would have been out of that place so fast.
It was like funny in a weird, awkward, creepy, scary kind of way because of what's happening. I will say now, there's a room with a bunch of like
surgical practice mannequins.
Mannequins,
dummies.
That's all I'm gonna say, and we're gonna move on, because that just the room alone should be just set on fire. Like, this should not be a room that exists anywhere at all. It's very disturbing.
It reminds me of that Geico commercial where they're in the horror movie and it says like people in horror movies make stupid choices, and they open the like room and it's just filled with all the weapons and chainsaws, and they go, we should hide in here, and you see the guy just standing there, even the killer's like like, you see this room, no, you know what, here's the body cam back, here's the security badge, I will see you later.
I'm gonna get another job at like mall security in the car driving around the parking lot,
or I'm gonna get a security job with this like a bright, well lit area. I'm gonna do something else. You know what, working at the prison would be safer.
How the guy got the job is also in question. There's a lot of questions. I feel like we should do a follow-up podcast later on, like give enough time where like people watched it, and then go like full in, because I do want to fully discuss the film, because I found it to be I don't want to say fascinating. It intrigued me because there were elements of the story that I was like, okay, this is interesting. But then some of it kind of, because of the plot holes, it fell apart for me. But I have to say, I'm not mad. Because what happens, even though it's illogical and it's just not adding up, I didn't care, because it was so creepy what was happening that I was just like, fuck it, I'm here along for the ride.
So this one, I definitely recommend you see this one. It's super creepy and definitely worth checking out. Like I said, it just premiered this last Friday, the 16th, at that New York Film Festival. What was the name? Oh yeah, it was the Dances with Films in New York. So I'm not sure where it's going to be available yet, but keep an eye out for it because it's definitely worth checking out.
Infirmary. Now we have we were able to get a screener from director that we
have previously interviewed back at Popcorn Frieds a few years ago. Tom Bocci has a new film out called Relentless. It was called Siphon actually when we watched it, but now it's called Relentless. I think that's good. It stars really two people. There's some other people in it, but really the two people that are in it the most is Jeffrey Decker and Shuai Kinoshita. I'm going to say that. Hope that's right. And it is kind of a home invasion thriller horror movie kind.
I wouldn't say it's a horror movie. I would say that
it's a horror movie in the way that like The Purge is a horror movie. It's scary to have someone invade your house, basically.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I disagree.
It's one of those things that like I always remember Wes Craven said he didn't find Jaws scary because they went out in the boat looking for the shark. They didn't have to do that. They could have stayed home. He said it's when you go to find hell, it's not scary because you made that choice. When hell just comes to you through the front door, that's when it's scary.
That's cute and insightful, but I strongly disagree with you. I want to say that because we were provided the screener and because we did, have a grand discussion with Tom and we saw Arctic, which that was...
Yeah, that one was a straight up horror.
That was horror. This is more I would say this is more of a thriller. If we were to categorize it, if we were going to go to Barnes and Noble and find this, I wouldn't find this in the horror section. I would find this in more like suspense thriller or thriller, more thriller.
But I think now that, especially like in the digital age, you can put more categories on stuff because used to in the video store or in the bookstore still, you have to have it in one category or the other so people can find it and so you know where to put it. When it's in streaming now, which is where most of the stuff's at, you can put it into more than one category because you will find it by the name and like look up. We see now like you look up like Psycho. It's going to be in thriller. It's going to be in horror.
I
movies.
would put this under cyber tech thriller. That's what the category would be. It wouldn't be horror. But having said all that, and because we don't want to give much away, we'll say that I would say that the film has it is a cyber. It can happen to anyone. It is a cyber tech thriller.
Yeah.
Someone gets their lives destroyed because their identity. It's kind of like you know what? It's kind of like the movie with Sandra Bullock, The Net, right? Yeah. Right. I love that movie.
It's like a modern version of The Net, but with
two guys and they're beating the shit out of each other.
With a lot more violence.
So much violence. If you're into violence, this is the movie for you because they are just going at it.
And it's a realistic kind of fighting. It's not like everyone's jumping up in the air and doing kung fu kicks and flips. It reminds me like the fights in like the Bridget Jones Diaries where they're just punching each other and throwing each other around all over the place. It's like that. It's a real fight with people. You're hitting each other. You're grabbing lamps, whatever you can, smashing into them. It's all very realistic fights. Like I said, it always is funny to me. Like everybody seems to know karate. Everybody knows kung fu. Like it's just a random computer programmer, but this guy somehow knows to like jump off the balcony and do flips. There's none of that in this movie. Everybody is, like I said, realistically fighting. People get hurt. People, they've got bloody wounds and that kind of stuff. That's refreshing to see because it makes it feel like there's real world consequences for the violence. Whereas the normal action movies, the guy gets shot in the side with a .50 caliber bullet and he puts a Band-Aid over it and goes, "It'll be fine."
Yeah.
No, bro, you're not going to be fine when that happens to you.
There's also social commentary in here. So horror can have social commentary, obviously. Yeah. I feel like this is a little more heavier than the norm with the social commentary. And I will say that the main actor, the first gentleman that you named.
Sorry, I spaced on his name again. Jeffrey Decker.
Jeffrey Decker. Okay. Sir Decker. Hot darn. You must work out a lot because his physique was it was unreal. I thought it was, is this a AI person? Like, is this a fake person? Because the
that guy had no body fat.
He doesn't even know, he can't even say body fat because it's just not in his vocabulary. It's not in his DNA. And it's probably one of those things where he probably eats like so much protein. Like, what was that? Another one of the guys from Game of Thrones. There was some you were talking about where they just eat like
300
massively. Like,
yes, they ate massive amounts of protein and just worked out all day to look like they did in 300. And he's like, it's amazing how fast you can lose all that when you stop doing all the exercise.
Yeah. I think the other thing is like they stay dehydrated. That's what makes their abs pop even more.
They look so like defined because they don't drink water for a day or two before they film.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood. And there was parts of I felt like I had to like stop the film because I was just so grossed out on how much blood there was, because it was like sticky blood. Like you look at it and you're like, ew, like you just feel it on you. Like you're just like sweaty, kind of gross blood. You know, it was a very bloody movie, but also it was fucked up. This movie does have, you do go through the motions of the movie, but I would say it was, if someone told me this was like, mind you, obviously this is a crazy thing to say, but this is like a long lost movie from like Quentin Tarantino, I would have believed that shit, because it's very heavy on the dialogue. There's a lot of exposition and trying to get... and there's one thing about the main character that I didn't get. I didn't know if he was on drugs. They never show him. Well, the one drug that he was constantly doing was he was smoking, which nicotine.
Woo! Yeah, man, cigarette.
I hope that was a fake cigarette. I hope it wasn't real, because hot darn,
he smoked a lot of cigarettes in this movie.
So many cigarettes. I never seen so much smoking. And you know what it is? I think it's because back in the day you would see people smoke in movies, right?
Yeah.
But then that whole thing happened in the 90s with the Philips, whatever, and then that was kind of like slowly
just
removed
not used
from the
to
movie.
Seeing it so much in movies now.
So now I feel like it was just like, from the moment that they stopped, let's say from 1999 till today, I got my fill of how much smoking there was in this movie. Like, it made up for all that time of where there was minimum smoking to like, holy crap, there was so much smoking. But congrats to making another film. Filmmaking is not easy, man.
No, it's rough.
It's rough, and when you have a passion for it and this is something that you want to do, you put your heart and soul into it, and it's a lot of work.
So Relentless is, I think it's available now, so check it out too. It's like I said, aside from the smoking and the blood, there's a lot of smoking and a lot of blood in this movie. I'm not sure which there's more of, smoking or blood.
I don't know. I'm not going to rate the film because it's a horror film. It's not a horror film in my eyes, so I don't think it's fair for me to give it a knife rating.
But check it out. It's interesting to see. It's a fun film to, if nothing else, keep track of how many cigarettes he smokes, and you'll have a good time. The social commentary on it and what happens to the individual is there's a lot you can take away from that. Yeah, and I'm gonna, the one thing that I pointed out when I was watching this is that I said I'm not gonna have to tease Tom about this, is he was not putting gas in that car, because when we came up on the car, the gas tank was on the other side, and then he got out and just started putting gas in the other side. I'm like, no, he's not putting gas in that car.
So we're gonna
That's one of those mistakes that it's fun to catch in a movie.
Yeah, I want to say that I can't even imagine like how much. I know you get a certain amount of like film, like so I'm sure in the editing, when that was edited, it was just edited obviously incorrectly, and they put the two cells together that didn't match.
Different, yeah.
So,
but
it was funny. It was like, wait, what?
I saw the gas tank on the other side of the car. Why is he over there? Yeah, it's one of those things that when you catch it in a movie, it's always kind of fun. It's like, When I was a kid, there's a scene in the original Star Trek motion picture where Spock and McCoy are standing, and they have on jackets, and one of them has a red stripe and one of them has a blue stripe, and that stripe changes from scene to scene as to who's wearing it, because they literally just picked up whatever jacket was available and put it on, and no one noticed that they had switched jackets a couple of times, and when they edited them together, the stripe is wrong on different ones.
Yeah.
Now they've gone in and digitally corrected that now.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one of those things like, come on, just leave it in there, guys.
Yeah, well, I'm sure someone...
Oh, you know the Star Trek nerds were all over that.
I'm going to tell you what they didn't digitally correct. John Carpenter's smoke in Halloween from the bush scene when Annie comes up to and that has not been removed, and it should never be removed.
Yeah, that has to stay as an artifact to show just how dedicated to smoking John Carpenter is.
Yes, 100%. Well, that concludes our catch-up.
Yep, we got our catch-up episode now. We wanted to get to talk about all of these, but we didn't necessarily have a lot of time to talk about each one of them in a whole episode. So we hope you enjoyed our catch-up episode. If you want to hear more of these where we talk about more than one movie, please let us know.
Thank you so much, and stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.